As a Thorough just kind of shut him down.
Yeah, Thero did a great job at the solo lane. And this is what they needed when they said, okay, we want a Thero as our new player. They needed someone who is strong on those solo lanes and can win them. And that's exactly what he did right there. They have been showing their Malthael off already. And the question, of course, is going to remain how exactly the Zealots are now going to adapt. If they think this is a threat to us, we need to change things up, maybe even ban Malthael out on the second rotation, or if they just simply think, okay, if we play this a little bit differently, if we maybe get the rotations going towards the solo lane to help the Haka out a bit more, then we can have more of an impact, shut Malthael down, and then exploit an early game. So that's stuff that they have to discuss now before heading into the second draft.
Well, speaking of Malthael, our players did share their thoughts about Malthael and what they think he's going to be like in the next couple weeks. Let's go ahead and hear from them.
Malthael seems like a really strong hero, like really difficult to deal with, has a huge amount of pressure in the lane and in team fights, and there's a lot of cool things you can do with him which you wouldn't initially think of.
He's good at team fighting, his heroic Tormented Souls is insane, the amount of damage you deal, the amount of heals you gain, which make him a beast in team fights.
So I think being able to like play around his ult makes him a really, really strong hero. I mean, I'm pretty happy to have like another tank shredder in the game. I feel like the meta is so tank heavy, and I think he has like a lot of damage output and a lot of potential to really shine in this meta.
No one can stop death.
The best part about a new hero coming out is obviously figuring out where he works in team compositions and what he can pull off, but also how would you stop him? And I gotta say, yesterday, watching the good guys play that triple backline against Malthael was such a treat to watch.
It was definitely really cool, but I think whenever we say that, we have to throw out that it was really a draft that was targeted onto the battleground as well. So don't keep running around on other maps in Battlefield with your triple backline compositions.
Triple backline on Warhead Junction. It's great. Let's go ahead and talk about Battlegrounds, by the way, for game number 2. We're going to go to Towers of Doom, the choice for experts.
You just say triple backline is good on Warhead Junction.
I did, man. I hope that they play that against me in Hero League.
Yeah, against you.
That's what I'm doing here, actually. I'm making Hero League a place where I can actually get victories finally. Lord knows I need to do something about getting some victories somehow.
And you make me end up in drafts where my team says all of a sudden, we need a third backline now. We have no damage. Thank you, Trixla.
Keep it up, man. Yeah. Oh, looks like we have different lighting here for Towers of Doom. The set used to be all green, but we have a purple in the front. Josh doing the little things that counts.
I still think he's colorblind.
That's really mean.
Why is that mean?
Josh isn't colorblind. He commented on your tie. Oh, your tie is black today. Maybe he is colorblind.
My tie is not black. You're colorblind too.
Oh, fair enough. All right, guys. It's Towers of Doom game 2 set up here. Zealots will have the first ban and the first pick, and they are having none of the Medivh.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that happens when you have a lot of data over your opponent. You know that Expert loves to play with the Medivh. You know that AD-RD is quite strong on the hero, and you're probably not too happy about any kind of setup with the Leyline Seal. So it's definitely a target ban. We have the Slugger also banned out, Expert respecting Shat on the hero. Tim has already fanboyed him a little bit earlier, and for very good reason. Shat definitely strong on Abathur, and the experts, of course, realize that the pick alone is strong on the map, and then they don't want to give it to Shat here.
Well, with Abathur being gone, you did mention that Shat can play a mean Vikings. I would like to see that in the rotation.
I'm not quite sure when I have seen him on the Vikings the last time, but I definitely know that it's back.
That's a black tie.
That is not black. That's gray.
No, it's a black tie with like white.
How is that black? Is that black?
Yeah, it's black.
That's not. That's gray.
What do you call this color?
That's black.
It's the same exact color.
It's not the same color.
The white like makes it look gray because it's like it's I don't know abstract or something.
No.
Okay. Chat, is it black? Please let me know. Please, I have to.
That's not black.
This.
Here, that's gray.
I can see a shade of black. I would say charcoal black. Can we agree on that?
That's black. This is not the same color.
It's slightly lighter, yes.
What do you mean?
It's charcoal, and charcoal is a variation of black. It's been confirmed by production. Josh says, as Uther gets picked up.
He didn't say anything to me, so I don't believe you.
Josh?
Uther has been picked.
Help me out here, Josh.
Josh is silent. You're hearing things. I haven't heard anything from Josh. He's still not talking to me, so...
All right, let's just go ahead and drop it because I'm not right. So Uther will be the pickup for Zealots on the right side. The Uther comes in for the rotation. Boom. What do you think's going to happen on the other side, Expert?
I would still go with Inubarak here. I think up to the point where Inubarak's ult is losing, is getting either a higher cooldown, the... Stop smirking. It's either getting a higher cooldown.
I like listening to you talk.
the cocoon is getting less hit points, or we are seeing a shortened duration. And Inubarak will always be a fantastic pick. Having such a short cooldown or such an impactful heroic ability should always lead to him being high in the draft. And the experts do exactly that. They pick up the Inubarak. Don't think that was really up for discussion. The Tazda, on the other hand, is interesting. They did that already on the last map. It keeps them very flexible. They let a hero like Genji go, but say with Tazda, they have so many options that they can just play anything. And it was really interesting to listen yesterday also to what we heard on North America. We've been talking about a pick combo that we've seen from a lot of the North American teams, and we asked Loring about it, and he said that they picked the Tazda and the Arthurs not necessarily because of synergy between the two, but that especially Tazda is by now in a situation where he's so flexible in what he can do that you're not really limited to playing a hyper carry with that setup, that he offers just also the front line a lot more sustainability, which with an Arthurs, for example, can help you, since against burst, Arthurs oftentimes is also a little bit weaker if a bit too far out. So Tazda is a great all-rounder, and with the opening that Expert uses here, they are flexible into anything that they want to branch out to after they see what Zealots have planned.
It is interesting to see that Tassadar is now that flexible due to the fact that in Phase 1, Team Expert was the only team that wasn't diving headfirst into Tassadar whenever he was available. In fact, they would leave him alone in the draft and just try to outdraft their opponents. And if it means that he's that flexible that Team Expert is now putting him as a staple for their first two, you know they mean serious business. That Tassadar is one of those heroes that can really set your team up for a foundation. Zealots on the other side, we'll answer back with the Dahaka and the Genji.
Think about Tazda this way. First of all, with the shield, you have options now. You can either go into Life Leech if you have a heavy auto attacker.
True.
Or you can go into the extra armor if you have to deal with extreme burst on the other side. Then you can also flex on your ult, because you can say, hey, we need the damage, so you go into Archon. If on the other hand, it's, let's say, on Infernal Shrines, more so a matter about isolating a target or really trying to play around those choke points, you can go into the Force Wall and set something up with the help of that. If you have an Oriel, you get the combo of using a Detainment Strike against the wall. So there's a lot of flexibility going into this. And at this point, they know, of course, what Zealots are doing here. You see the global with Dehaka, you have the mobility with Genji, so Divine Shield and Dragon Blade are most likely going to be used together. Dehaka for the side soak. And I really like that Zealots is actually banning out the Malthael here, because they really said on the last map, boys, this is too much. This is getting really annoying for us, so let's work around it, especially with Uther there. So yeah, I think the draft so far has actually been pretty smart. You can see the thought process of both teams quite clearly.
Now, Malthael needed to be banned out because Zarmi was completely ineffective in that game. He was shut down way too heavily. He lost out in his lane, which is rare to say. A Dahaka losing a lane is something that you just don't pull off. At best, usually at least he walks away with a trade, and that way you can at least come in for your rotation. So Zealots realizing that Malthael brings in a little bit too much spice for them are going to go ahead and hold off and make sure that he's not available for pickup, but this does leave up other options for Team Expert if they want to be able to handle the Dahaka. The Leorc, which we haven't seen in a few days, is still on the table.
Oh, and Tracer and Rhaegar are now being dropped. So Tracer on this map is great to an extent where we sometimes even, actually quite often, we see her banned out, but mostly so against certain teams. And Expert hasn't really pulled off the Tracer in quite some time, if I'm not wrong here.
It's been a while. I feel like we saw it once in Phase 1 from Expert in particular. Nick really pulled it off.
Yeah.
But there's also a new member on the field here, Athuro. And Athuro is a mean Tracer.
Yeah, but I would expect Nick to be on the Tracer and Athuro to be the one that jumps onto the second melee that will be up at the top lane. So I could see them here, maybe even going into a Leoric, but then a Sonya is still an option for them as well. So Athuro, I would expect him to be on the solo laner.
Sure.
But the Tracer combo is definitely a strong one, and Tracer loves Tazda, of course. And Genji can also get completely wrecked by a Tracer that knows what she's doing.
Yeah, play around that Reflect. You can chase him down just enough. If he uses one of his mobility options, suddenly he's in a spot where he could be picked off. Okay, so ETC in Greymane for the Zealots.
Okay, now I'm curious. I want to see Mopsio on ETC and see how much of an impact he has. Because the last time I saw him on ETC, which is granted a while ago, I'm not saying we're still on that same level, it was months ago, and he had his fair share of trouble having an impact with the ETC simply because he was overly aggressive on him and he really liked to slide into the opponent and attempting to set up kills, but oftentimes ended up just overextending slightly and then being the one that was targeted and his team had to try and defend him.
I mean, he still set up a kill then.
Yeah, just
in a
against the wrong
negative
team. No, but that was a while ago, and he already showed much better performance here in the HGC Phase 2, but I really want to, but I haven't seen him on the ETC yet, so I would really love to see that as a comparison to how much he has grown, what he can do on the hero now. For Expert, as I said, we have Sonya, so Ethereal is going to very likely be the top laner here, and that gives us Nick on Tracer.
So Sonya now being in the lane here, still pretty strong, can handle the Dahaka matchup if need be. Expert bringing back Sonya, but man, Zealots pulling out the ETC. How's that one going to pay off for him?
I'm not so sure on that yet. Looking at the draft, there's quite a few tools that you have for the interrupt here as well, especially when we're talking, of course, mainly about the Anubarak, so with a good cocoon. I think you still threaten the mosh pit. Don't think that with the Dahaka in your setup, you are going for the stage dive, so mosh pit it's going to be. And even if you hold that back, then you have still the threat, so Nubarak has to be very careful about the stuns he uses. And let's not forget, they're not only having the ETC in there, we're always talking about Genji and the synergy with the Divine Shield. But if you get the mosh pit with the Divine Shield off properly, that's absolutely perfect.
You still win, yeah.
Exactly. You have that deadly comp that for a long time was the go-to comp in Heroes of the Storm.
Setup is really great here. Boss control pretty good for the Zealots as well. And just need to make sure that they're nice and restrained and work together as a cohesive unit, because that Tracer, if they start to spread out, will poke them down. Let's go ahead and get game 2 started here. Towers of Doom. Expert hoping to take another one off the Zealots.
Game number 2 on Towers of Doom. We have the Experts go up against Team Zealots, and they are in the lead. Bad Benny to the left side on the Anubarak for the Experts, with AD already on Tacita, Aethera Angel on Sonya, Nick on Tracer, and Curson is playing the support. He's on Rhaegar.
To the right in the red, surfing into the game here. It's going to be Zealots on the top. We're going to be having Mopsio on the ETC, Poik on Greymane, Zarmany on Dahaka, Shad on Genji, and Grandpa on Uther.
I'm excited for this one. There's a lot of potential in both drafts that we have. It comes down to the execution, especially on the side of Zealots. I think a lot is going to hinge on how well the synergy between Uther and Genji on the Dragon Blade or the Mosh Pit from ETC is going to be. And when we're looking at Team Expert, it's all about the Tracer. How much of an impact is Nick going to have here? Dodging the tongue of Zarmany already as Sonya and Dahaka are making their way to the top, to the solo lane.
To the top they go. Sonya versus Dahaka. That'll be a fun matchup, but I'm keeping an eye on this 4-man rotation here, that Tracer and that Tacita. How effectively can they pick off opposing members? And Nubarak will be the one to peel off to soak that experience in the middle, but at any point, Bad Benny can move in and try to get a pickup on that Uther before that level 7 hits, try and get some kills in the early game, which gives Expert a nice experience lead.
Yeah, if they can set themselves apart early on in the game, that would of course be the dream. We have Rhaegar also with a Colossal Totem here, so he's looking already for the synergy on level 16 then, when you have more or less... It feels like a stun because of how much it slows the initial movement of a hero, so that is of course helping the rest of the team to catch up. But it's really going to be a battle between the frontliners as well. The Anubarak against the ETC, seeing if Uther is able to provide the Divine Shield in time. It was one of these old tool combos that we have seen months ago, and a lot of people just dedicated the entire draft to getting ETC plus Uther. Now it's an added bonus that you have towards Genji and ETC together. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to work out. And especially not only that, let's keep in mind that we have for Zealots the only global in the game.
That's a good point. Being able to rotate there with that Dahaka. On the other side, though, Sonya does answer back by having a better chance of going Mercenaries. If she starts to win that lane against Dahaka in the top, she can rotate in and start to grab those sappers and try to push in the lane and do a similar effect to what we saw with Malthael in terms of really trying to take that entire lane and take advantage and push forward. Let's see if they can pull that off here, but the 3 altars spawn, top right, top left, and bottom. Zealots will be able to get the bottom, looks like. as ETC is here all by himself, and Dahaka even getting the top right.
They could end up with 3 because Sonya is getting poked at the top and 2 have already been claimed. Zealots are ahead and it's just a question of how long Shat can interrupt. But the team had no interest of going for the third one. They were attempting to stall it out, but as you can see here on the screen, the immediate rotation of the Zealots was not to the top lane, attempting to contest the third altar, but instead they went to their camp and took that first. So now they can theoretically contest the opponent's camp, or at least escort this one into the structures.
I really like that play. Just going straight for the mercenaries, realizing that you already got an advantage in shots. You know that Team Expert is rotating a massive amount of people to that top left, and they're going to try to grab it. Just go ahead and get the mercenaries and keep moving forward. Solid play here by the Zealots. Can they keep up the current shot calling here as we head into the mid game? We'll have to see. As Team Expert clears up the sappers pretty darn well, but Momsio, he's lurking in the bushes. He wouldn't mind going for a gank.
Yeah, the question is how much can you set that up? Grand Paquette would be ready with a second stun, so that's important. First stun comes in, tries to slide through, misses slightly, not fast enough to actually use his face melt to push them back. But I don't think the damage potential was really there to get a kill. But he can poke away, and that alone already is of course helping a lot. But the healing ward of Rhaegar is on the ground and helps out the rest of the team. At this point, it's just all about seeing if you can isolate someone on the map. You attempt, of course, to gain the control over the mercenary camps, but this is still very early in the game, and as in the last game, both teams are playing a bit more reserved.
Team Expert going for it here on the left side. Mazio not checking that bush he normally would. With Bad Benny on the side for defense, Team Expert will be able to grab those mercenaries. Sonya's been doing a pretty good job of rotating between the bottom, or the middle and the top here. I feel like she's missed 1 or 2 experience, but for the most part, Team Expert is hanging in there. Dahaka even occasionally has tried to grab the sappers in the top, but just hasn't quite been able to grab them.
So this is a bit of an unfortunate spot now for Experts, because they have Sonya at the top and the Dahaka is of course facing her. Dahaka already moving back into the middle here, but with his ult, with his trait, his Z, Jesus, that was a tough one.
One of his many buttons.
One of his many buttons. He can, of course, then just borrow it down to the bot lane. Tracer already falling here. That's an added benefit. Doesn't even have to join the fight. Dahaka, that is. He's still busy with Sonya in the middle, but they are going to get that channel through and gonna apply more pressure.
Yeah, able to get the channel, stay a lead here, 36-28.
I went through every single button until I finally came up with a Z. His trade, his ult, ability.
That's a good failsafe there, man. I'd rather go QWER instead of Z, you know?
Yeah.
Just go ahead and drop in the variety. I like it. Caldor, changing up the meta.
Like, sometimes you misspeak and you immediately catch yourself and you're trying to correct it. But when the correction is also wrong and you could just go from one to another. Feels bad, man.
It happens, man. You know, it's a thing.
I need more coffee.
We'll get you some more. Nice little mocha. Nice little espresso to pop in there. I am actually pretty impressed with Zealots right now, though. They have a great lead on the altars. Their positioning have been pretty on point. That pick on Tracer in particular to shut down any hopes of Team Expert of getting that altar. Now Expert responded back accordingly. Okay, we lost Tracer. Let's just go ahead and peel back and keep soaking, because they're staying with them in terms of experience.
This is one of the things that's really dangerous with the composition that Zealots are playing. If you do not have vision, if you're engaging into a bush or into an area, then you can just get double stunned and taken out immediately. That's why Tacita is so important here and needs to play around his Oracle to provide that vision, since Tracer cannot move into these situations. So it's a really tricky spot, and Zealots is catering to that strength quite nicely. They haven't even seen the need to really use Dahaka's global yet. He's mostly soaking experience and trying to counteract the Thero, and to a certain extent also Bad Benny.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you bring up that Oracle too. Without Tracer rounds being here at level 1, you're going to need to make sure that Tracer can set up and walk into those bushes. So it was a major point that you were pulling out. And Team Expert kind of in that spot where they have to move into that level 1 for a Tracer. The Pulse Strike giving you the ability to grab those bombs much quicker, because winning a team fight becomes much more easier for Expert with Sonya when they have an advantage, when they can poke somebody down on health bars and have a health bar advantage and just swarm them.
So now with that level 10 is finally dropped, Expert has to worry about 2 things. Genji's Dragon Blade with a Divine Shield and ETC sliding in for the Mosh Pit, and then Uther making sure that there is no possible interrupt with his Divine Shield. So those are the 2 things that are really a bit tricky. As the drag already, Kirsten immediately with the healing ward onto the ground here. It's a 5 versus 5 down to the bot lane as we are seeing Zealots angle for a kill.
This is actually a 5v5, because or 5v4, as Sonya was actually getting the altar on the top. Now she joins in the fight, but she's already grabbed the altar, and Momsky will be pulled back. Zealots playing a little bit more reserved. There was a good moment where Zarmani set up a drag on ADRD, and I was really expecting to see a power slide come in and try to lock down that member.
Experts need to split here. Leap being used. They go for ETC. Mosh Pit has been used, but we don't see the Divine Shield on him. It has been used earlier already. Cocoon comes out as ETC falls, and we are seeing Expert trying to go for another kill. Zarmany's low, and he dies. And it looks like Shat might fall too. He's already using Deflect here, but still dying. Grand Paquete does not have the cooldown ready.
That was the saddest death I've ever seen in my life. He just fell. He's like Madonna, and he falls. So let's go ahead and check out the replay here. As you're going to see an explosion happen here. Thurtle on the left side. He's coming forward. He's waiting for it. He's got the leap already picked, and then he decides, this is my moment. He jumps in, lands it here, goes in. The Divine Shield actually used on Genji. Mopsio gets off a really solid mosh pit, but as the Divine Shield had to be used, we just see Team Expert run away with this fight.
That leap definitely caught quite a few of these players by surprise, and it caught me by surprise as well. It was also perfect. It hit the two heroes that you want to give the Divine Shield, so you have to make that choice. Do you need to use it on Genji to keep him alive, or can you drop it on ETC, who then uses the mosh pit? It was a really weird moment there. Grand Paquete made the choice for Genji. That's why ETC could not get a lot of use out of his ult. He died shortly after he used the mosh pit, and Genji was not able to deliver a kill. But talking kills,
A Thorough might be killed. Nope, he jumps out, says bye-bye. But we'll be able to give up the mercenary camps. Genji and crew grab them easily, get the sappers pushing. And Team Expert with those kills, though, have taken a lead in experience, and they're on the way to 13.
I'm a huge fan of Leap, by the way. I completely understand that most of the time you can't head into Leap since you need more sustain on your hero. And of course, Wrath of the Berserker is a fantastic tool. But if you have the double support here and you can afford to drop that bit of sustainability and go into Leap, it's such an amazing setup for these fights. So I absolutely love that we are seeing it in this game, and I'm curious to see how Zealots is going to play around it.
It gives them two tools, too. Naturally, when you're playing against a Tracer, as a team composition, you're wanting to hug each other. You want to be close by. You want to make sure that if Tracer comes in with that Pulse Bomb, you're able to handle her appropriately, also bring out the heals, which makes Sonya's lead a much more effective. Two people being together is a prime target. That's where we saw the Genji and the ETC next to each other. That big explosion, that big surprise is what Expert is banking on. Can they pull it off multiple times, though? Because usually when you pick a leap comp, you get kind of fooled by it once, and then afterwards you start to really deal with it.
Yeah, afterwards you will see your opponent spread out a lot more and take it from there. But for now, both of the teams are on level 13 talents, and this is really, once again, where we are going to see some fireworks. This is especially, of course, oh, there's the mosh pit, Divine Shield being used, but the cleanse is good, and therefore Mopsio not getting anything. They'll leap into the back line, and that is a dead Greymane.
And this is probably the fight here. Nick is just dancing around here. Shad hoping to get a kill, but the recall comes out just in time. Zarmy looking for his own pick as well, but he's going to get locked down by Tassadar, and that slow Impale comes out. Team Expert gets 2 kills, and that will be an altar.
Yeah, so there was really one of those moments where the mosh pit just was not good enough. You use 2 heroic abilities, and the only thing you get is a single target isolated. And Arega does nothing else but hit the cleanse, and all of a sudden you have everyone moving out. So you can't save Greymane after he gets attacked by the lead because the Divine Shield isn't up anymore, and you have no chance to empowering Genji when he uses his Dragon Blade. So if the mosh pit is used, if they go in with this, they need to hit more than 1 target.
And it's not like that mosh pit was random out of nowhere. There was a moment where Expert was looking like they were going to walk into a 3-man mosh pit, but that seemed very coordinated. They walked forward, they saw ETC do the fight wind up, and they all pulled away instantly. Expert doing a really good job there of forcing Mopsio to think that he had a situation where he can make the play.
Yeah, and right now they're exploiting that advantage they have perfectly. They have a 1-level lead, they have taken control over the bot lane and attempt to escort those Zappers into the opponent's core. And they lead already when it comes to the numbers on the core, 28 to 23. So they are doing a very good job with this. Zealots have to defend, and they are taking a lot of damage doing so, but they're also attempting to close that gap in experience. Expert can still lose this game, of course, so they're slightly ahead, but you've seen the last 2 situations go in their favor, but Zealots are still very much shortly behind them. So one good mosh pit can change the entire outcome of this game.
we're at a spot where it's the breaking point for Zealots. They have to make an active move soon here. They've got the bell tower on the bottom right already cleared out. They're going towards 16. Team Expert is here. And with the ultra spawning relatively soon, I believe this is the 3 ultra spawn after this one, we're going to be a spot where our teams have to force fight. Actually, here's the 3 ultra spawns popping out for Team Expert. So if they're unable to get into a team fight here and get to an active solution, Team Expert is going to be in a spot where they are moving towards 20 on cruise control.
Yeah, the level 16 talent is already a big spike for them. And now that we have a triple altar on the map, that talent lead could provide them with at least 2, maybe even 3, depending on how the next few seconds are going to pan out here. Since Zealots might be forced into a fight they don't want to take. Already Mobzio is being attacked here, and Nick is just zipping around on the tracer and delivering free damage.
Damage continually going out, and it's going to be 2 ultras, by the way. Zealots realizing they're in a bit of a pinch, so they'll go ahead and take 1 ultra in the top right. 24 to 15. A couple of sappers also hit that point in the bottom right, so if Team Expert is able to grab these mercenaries, they can do the tried and great strat of just holding a bell tower.
Yeah, here comes Bad Benny, though. He wants to go in, gets the stun fall off on Mobzio, but doesn't use the cocoon yet. We have also Sonya with a leap. This is another thing they need to coordinate properly on the side of Team Expert. So far it has worked perfectly, but they need to make sure that they don't by accident cocoon and leap the same target.
Cocoon and leap. Usually you want to hit that Uther, and that way you can make sure that there's no saving point being able for the Divine Shield coming in the middle of the rotation. This top Sapper cap has been a contention point for both our teams. Oh, a Thorough feeling like he's got this. He's going straight on in. Bad Benny also in here for the chase, but not making it quite in time.
I think he wanted to really just slow him down. If he leaps a little bit farther forward and body blocks him for 1 second, then Bad Benny should be in range to get his stun in. So that could have potentially been a kill here. But it turns out that the Haka still is able to escape, and therefore a cooldown was just used that will not be ready for another 40 seconds. That might be the window that Zealot's is looking for.
Looking for a window, but is it open? Team Expert dancing around the middle, playing safe, realizing they don't have leap for another 30 seconds. Mosh Pit and Divine Shield are available, but Mobzio just can't quite get in there. Shad on the left side, hoping to maybe beat someone forward. A 2-man Mosh Pit himself would have been great here too.
Mobzio just needs to be careful that he isn't too eager.
Yeah.
He's looking too much for it. So he has a lot more tools than only the mosh pit here, and he needs to play around that. The Haka is now up here at the bottom. They're still looking for potential to make a move. And the next 2 altars are activating in another few seconds. And just 20 here. Mobzio is already waiting and not getting any kind of setup just yet. But a good poke on the side of Poik. He's always keeping ADRD low. And that sets them up to take one of the 2 altars, maybe even the second one.
We'll see if they can do it here. 24 to 15, 1 at least would be good for them. Getting their opponents down to 20. They're going to go straight for a new Brack. Cleanse has been used, so Bad Benny does get out of the fight. Uther's in the top right, sharking around while Shad will start the channel. And Zealots, they seem to be moving forward. They're going for it. Grandpa will get the harassment on a Thorough.
Yeah, they're starting to move in. Mobzio is really low, though. He needs to be extremely careful. Gets the Divine Shield, uses the Mosh Pit. They cannot get the kill. The leap comes in, ETC is down, and they are attempting to make this a double as Zarmony is the next target.
And Shad actually stopped channeling to come in here and help fight that. So now, Team Expert in a spot where they thought they would get 1 of the altars are now going to be able to grab 2 of them and continue to put the Zealots back here. They're dropping down to 7 points and maybe 3. If Team Expert can get this pick on Shad here, on Genji, they go straight for boss.
Yeah, and they should be able to take that. Nick is already zipping around the back to make sure that he has no escape left to him. And they are aiming for the boss at the same time. So Shad at this point is just on the run. They might even let him go. Not quite.
Arigato. He falls right away there.
He needed healing.
God, I hate memes. So the core continues to fall down to 3 points, and Zealots are in a bad spot.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a nightmare.
They're in a really bad spot. We've seen crazy comebacks on Towers of Doom where teams were on 1 HP on the core and were still able to turn it. But this is definitely not looking good for the Zealots. They need to make a big play right now, and maybe it starts with a kill against Rhaegar. Can they get him? And yes, indeed they do.
That's a start. Can they get more? A Thorough on the left side, getting low. The shield's coming out, but Zarmony hits another drag. A Thorough turning it around, though. He doesn't mind. He wants to fight, and Zarmony will fall. Oh, yes he does. Mopsio here as well. Greymane gets cocooned so he couldn't help out, and Team Expert expertly turns it around with a big leap as they jump on Grandpa.
The leaps, I absolutely love it. So once again, the body blocking, Grandpa is dead and in kills. It's an 11-2 score in favor of Team Expert with 24 points on the core and only 3 for Zealots. This is looking more and more like the game is going to end in Expert's favor. Question, of course, is can they turn it around with a mythical monster mosh pit? I don't know. They need a miracle here because Expert has by now level 20 and they have taken another bell tower. They have 5 in their favor against 3 and they are very likely to claim another one down here. And let's not forget that at this point we have a double altar spawning, and with them claiming this bell tower, it means there's no point of retreat for Zealots. Both of the bell towers towards the right side of the 2 altars are claimed by Expert. So this is more or less the worst case scenario.
Now, Miracle, Hail Mary, a Wish Upon a Star, all the ways you can really put it here. It's still the same theme for the Zealots. They need to make something happen with 2 altars being up. Rhaegar is already on the bottom channel, and the Zealots seem to have just given up as they can't get down there to interrupt him. That is going to be game over as Team Expert will take game number 2 and be up in the series.
Yeah, great move here by Expert. So they take the 2-0, and with that, they are 1 game away of deciding the best of 5 in their favor. And Zealots, they show, I want to say they show signs of greatness where they have a chance to turn it around, but overall, when the crucial moment comes, they just fall short.
Yeah.
And I have to admit that Mopsio's ETC just doesn't really convince me. He seems to... I just get the impression, and that might be wrong perception on my end, that he is too eager to deliver the mosh pit. He's always waiting there for this one move instead of just playing his hero, trying to provide with his slide a good stun and a good face melt, trying to isolate a target, and then when the moment occurs, use the mosh pit. It seems to be the one pivotal point where he always says, I need to do this.
Yeah.
And then he gets poked down, he's already low when he uses it, and he dies shortly afterwards.
Yeah, he looks hungry. He's playing like a starved animal, constantly trying to go in for the fight, and Expert just gave him no french fries or anything. Just straight up never allowed for him to go in for the fight. And so Expert continued to shut him down, and it's unfortunate, man, that he was able to pull it off. I would like to see him play a little bit more Stitches, in particular. That worked out for him last week, in particular. Even a Nubrak would be great, too. I think he did okay on a Nubrak, but right now the ETC, not so much.
I mean, they're still also finding their rhythm, of course, but at this point, they need to change something up. Since they're 2 games behind and falling down the series with an 0-3, that would be a lot of problems, a lot of trouble for them. If they can take a map or 2, that would be great. Even if they lose the series, if you just win a map or 2 towards the standings, that accounts for a lot, especially when we're at the end of the season and you are tied with other teams in scores. So a map score is really important this phase.
Also, just seeing this now, Zealots, because they took a 3-0 on the Playing Ducks, now I am starting to get these question marks of where is Playing Ducks in the entire standings of the HGC. We're going to see the next game, obviously, but we'll have to wait for this series to end first. We'll be right back after commercial break with game number 3 between Expert and the Zealots.